Alright folks, today we're going to be talking about some conversions and their applications using just volume today. Okay, so before you watch this video, make sure you have out your practice sheet, pencil, calculator, and your cheat sheet as well. Okay, so for these first ones, we're just going to talk about how to convert each of these to the following measures they're asked for. So we're starting out with 8 inches and feet. So the first thing we need to know are how many inches in a feet, or in a foot, excuse me. Hopefully we all know that 1 foot is 12 inches. Okay. Now, if you don't know what to do here, we've talked about the shortcut, but let's just go ahead and set up a proportion for this first one. Okay, this right now says 8 inches, so we'll start with that on the top. And this says we don't know how many feet, so that's x feet. And then we can set it equal to, we've got inches on the top, we know there's 12 inches. And then on the bottom we'll have our 1 foot. And then we can always cross multiply. Well, you'll see it's 12x equals 8. And then we have x equals 8 over 12. Now what we're supposed to do here is simplify our fractions or reduce. A 4 goes into both of those. 4 goes into 8 twice, and 4 goes into 12 3 times. Okay. If you struggle simplifying these fractions, you can use your calculator and reduce them there. All you'll have to do is take your 8 divided by 12 and then use the button to change it to a fraction. On my calculator, that's math and then enter twice, but yours will probably look like an arrow with fraction to decimal F2D above it. Okay, so just find your fraction button and it'll take care of that for you. The next one, we're going inches to feet again. Okay, the kind of short way to think about this is we know that we're going to use the number 12. So we either are going to multiply by 12 or divide by 12. And you want to think about what you're starting with. Inches is smaller than feet. And when we started with inches last time, we ended up dividing by that 12. It was 8 divided by 12. So when you start with the smaller one, we're always going to divide by the number. So here we need to take 6 divided by 12. 6 goes into both of those, 1 time in the top, 2 times in the bottom. Again, you can use your calculator to reduce that if you need to. Alright, the next one we're dealing with different measures though here. We've got feet and yards. Okay, so now we need to know 1 yard is how many feet. Again, hopefully you know that conversion rate. 1 yard is 3 feet. And then we'll multiply by 3 or divide by 12 based on what we're starting with. So the pattern stays the same. If you start with the smaller one, you're going to divide. If you start with the bigger one, you're going to multiply. So a foot is smaller than a yard since it takes 3 of them to get to 1 yard. So again, we're starting with the smaller one. We're going to divide. This time it says 3 feet in a yard, so we'll divide by 3. Okay, 10 over 3 we can't reduce, so we'll just leave it right like that. Okay, it's nicer for us to work with this improper fraction versus a mixed number because of what we're going to be doing with these numbers when it comes to our application problems with volume. Next one, we've got yards to feet. Okay, so this time yards is bigger than feet, so we're starting with the big one. Okay, this one we're going to multiply. And just to show you that this works, I'll set up a proportion for this one as well. So we've got 7 yards, and we don't know how many feet. And then over here, yards is on top, so we're going to put that 1 yard on top. And then 3 feet goes on the bottom. You'll see we've got x times 1 is just x. And then it says 7 times 3 is 21. So we multiplied the 7 times 3 to get 21. So if you do struggle with deciding whether to divide or multiply, please set up a proportion to solve these problems. Okay. What I want you to do now is pause the video and take care of 5, 6, 7, and 9. We'll come back and talk about what to do with these pieces that include 2 parts to them. Okay, so pause the video and get those taken care of, please. Alright, we talked about the conversions that we need to figure out inches in yard, we know that 1 foot is 12 inches. And we know that it takes 3 feet to get 1 yard. So if we want to know how many inches in a yard, we just have to think in 2 pieces here. 1 foot has 12 inches. Okay, so each of these 3 feet has 12 inches in it. So that's 12 plus 12 plus 12, or 12 times 3, is 36 inches. It's going to be very helpful for us to know this conversion rate, even though we're not as familiar with it as we are some of those other ones, okay? 36 inches in 1 yard. And that tells you, on this number 6, that we need to divide by 36, because we're starting with the smaller one, and that reduces to 7 over 18. The next one is feet to, sorry, let's go back here, 9 over 36 as well for number 5. Okay, so inches, starting with the smaller one, we're going to divide by 36, so that's 1/4. We've got the 7/18. Feet in yards, like the ones up above, we're starting with the smaller one, so we're dividing by 3 here. We cannot reduce that one. Then finally, number 9, we're dividing by 3 again. Okay, so now let's go and talk about these problems that have 2 pieces involved. Okay, so we're trying to convert 6 feet to 3 inches to just feet. Well, the 6 feet is already taken care of. Well, when I say 6 feet and 3 inches, I mean 6 feet plus 3 more inches. Okay, so these 2-part problems, we need to add them together. So I know the 6. Now we need to take care of this part. So inches to feet, we're going to use the number 12. And since we're starting with inches and inches is smaller than feet, we're going to divide by 12. All right? So here, again, we can use our calculator to help us. You don't have to necessarily reduce this first. If you do, we get 6 1/4. And then we need to go ahead and change that to an improper fraction like we did before. 4 times 6 plus 1 is 25 over 4. But you can just type this in as 6 plus 3 divided by 12 and let your calculator change that to a fraction for you. Okay? So on number 10 here, 4 feet, 4 inches to yards. So this time we have to convert both of these to yards. Feet is smaller than yards, so we're going to divide. There are 3 feet in a yard, so dividing by 3 here. The second piece, we're going inches to yard. Okay, so we talked about just a little bit ago there are 36 inches in a yard, so we'll take 4 and divide it by 36. Again, we'll just let our calculator do that for us. 4 divided by 3 plus 4 divided by 36. And change that to a fraction. 13 over 3. Or over 9, excuse me. If for some reason your calculator is giving you the mixed number, you'll look for a button, I think, that looks something like this. Okay. I'm not sure if the letters are quite the same, but you'll look for that button. You'll have to hit Shift, and that'll change it to an improper fraction. If for any reason you're unable to change those and you can't find the correct buttons, come see me, and I will help you work that on your calculator. Okay, I want you to pause the video and then go ahead and try those last 2 for me. All right, so 23 over 9 for number 11, 25 over 12 for number 12. Okay. Now we're going to apply a little bit of this to volume. So it says on number 13, Garrett is pouring a concrete sidewalk along the street and his front yard. So if we're thinking about a sidewalk, we've got the shape of a rectangle, or kind of a lot of rectangles together. But we know if we're pouring concrete, okay, it's actually a 3-dimensional shape. Okay? So this is actually going to be a box for us. Okay, so what I want you to do right now with me here is draw a box, and we're going to draw it the same way we did before using our geometer. We're going to draw a rectangle first, and then another rectangle up and to the right, and then you'll just connect your four corners. And then on this box, we've got three dimensions that I want you to label. We've got a length, we've got a width, and we've got a height. All right, so now we'll go actually put numbers on this based on what they tell us. It says the sidewalk is going to be 30 yards long. Okay, so next to our L, we're going to put 30 yards. Then it says 4 feet wide, so on our width we have 4 feet. Okay, notice we've got different labels here, so it's very important those are put on there. And then it says 4 inches deep. This word deep is going to tell us height for these types of problems. Okay, so then 4 inches over on the left here. Now, since we've got 3 different labels here, our problem won't work unless they're all the same. If we keep reading, it will tell us what to convert to. It says the concrete cost $80 per yard cubed. Okay, this price and yard cubed tell us we want to convert everything to yards. So then our 30 we get to leave alone, and each of these we have to use what we did above to convert them. Okay, so feet is smaller than yards, so we're going to divide, and then there are 3 feet in a yard, so we'll divide by 3. We'll use 4/3. It's no longer in feet. All right, over here, 4 inches. Okay, inches is smaller than yards, so we're dividing. And there are 36 inches in a yard, so we'll divide by 36. It's no longer in inches. Once we divide, it's now in yards. Once we have those 3 conversions, we can go ahead and decide what to use here. Since we're pouring the concrete to fill the box, this is a volume problem. Okay, this is why I asked you to grab out your your cheat sheet. Okay, on your sheet you should find the volume of the box, and that's equal to length times width times height, and we can plug all these numbers in. So we've got 30 for the length. We've got our width is 4/3. And we've got our height is this 4/36. Now we reduced up above, but you don't have to reduce this until the very end. It says we're going to multiply these all together. So in your calculator, we're taking 30 times 4 divided by 3, and then times 4 divided by 36. Now it's going to give you a repeating decimal most likely. You can leave it like that if you put a bar over it, or you can change it to a fraction. Okay, so this is 40/9, and then this is yards, 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 yards cubed for the label on the volume there. Now it didn't ask for the volume necessarily, it asked for the cost, but now that we have our yards cubed, we can multiply it by the $80. So we'll take 80 times that number for our final answer of the cost. So with money, we want the decimal version because we want to round to 2 decimal places, and that gives us 355, and then we've got 56 cents. Okay, over on the next one, it says that we're going to put river rock alongside that same sidewalk. Okay, so next to this sidewalk, we've got some river rock, but it says it'll be the same length as the sidewalk, but is only going to be 2 feet wide and 3 inches deep. We still have 3 dimensions, so we're still dealing with a box here. So let's go ahead and draw another box. 2 rectangles, and then connect the corners. We still have to put length, width, and height on there. And let's check out these numbers. It says the same length. Well, our length over here was 30 yards, so that doesn't change. Then it says we're only going to be 2 feet wide, so this will be 2 feet for width. And then 3 inches deep. Remember, our deepness is our height, so 3 inches on that. From here, we want to make sure we're all in the same label. Remember, look for what it asks. It says the rock costs $6.50 per yard cubed. Okay, so we're converting to yards. So length is good. There are 3 feet in 1 yard, so divide by 3. There are 36 inches in 1 yard, so divide by 36. Okay, once we do that division, these are both yards now. So our volume is length times width times height. That looks like 30 times 2 over 3 times 3 over 36. Again, if you want to reduce while you go, you can, but you certainly don't have to. 30 times 2/3 times 3 over 36. Again, you can write the repeating decimal or the fraction, and it's yards cubed. Now that we have that, we can find the cost. It's $6.50 for each of those, so $6.50 times that 5/3, or the 1.6 repeating, to get $10.83. Now, normally when we're talking money, if you went and only paid $10.83, you wouldn't have enough money. So really we want to round up when we're paying in money, but I'll let you round normally. Just make sure that you round based on the decimal you see after there. Alright, next one. Chisholm is going to pour a concrete patio in the backyard in the shape of the drawing to the right. So you'll notice over here we've got a rectangle. But then he's going to pour the concrete 4 inches deep. So what we don't see here is that this actually has a thickness and is really a box like all of our other problems. Okay, and that 4 inches deep, remember we always call the height. So our height here is 4 inches. Everything else is already labeled in our picture. Okay, so we just need to figure out what to call these things. Okay, so usually I like to think of my length as the longer number. Okay, but if you want to keep it going on the right-hand side here, that's fine. Okay, so I'll call this L, and this will be my width. From there, we want to see what to convert to since we're dealing with inches and feet. It again says yards cubed, so we need to change to yards. Okay, what I want you to do is pause the video and see if you can find the volume based on those 3 numbers. Just remember, you have to go ahead and convert to yards first. Alright, so inches we're dividing by 36 to get to yards. Feet, we're going to divide both of these by 3 to get to yards. Once we have those, we can multiply to get the volume. Okay, but again, it's not asking for the volume necessarily, it's asking for the cost. So we need to, last step, take that volume and multiply it by that $75. And that is $185.19. Alright, go ahead and flip it over for the last problem. Kendrick is having M&D excavate the basement, and the dream home is in the shape over here. You'll notice that's not a rectangle, but 2 rectangles smushed together. Okay, so we first need to decide how we're going to split this. Okay, there's 2 different ways to see our rectangles. We can go up and down here or left and right. Okay, I like this up and down version better. but then we know that this really is just the base, and then we're also, it says here, digging this out 9 feet deep. Okay, so again, we've got this three-dimensional shape happening for our height. Okay, but let's go ahead and number this 1 and 2 so we can find the volume of each of these separately. Okay, so the first one, we've got the length and the width, so let's call it that. And we can take care of that piece first. So volume 1, length times width times height. We have to decide what we need to be in because right now they're all feet. Okay, so let's see what it asks for. M&D charges him $5 per yard cubed. That means we have to convert each of these pieces to yards. So feet to yards, there are 3 feet in 1 yard. We're starting with the smaller one, so we're dividing each of these pieces by 3 so that we're dealing with yards. Okay, so length here was 60 over 3. The width was 40 over 3. And then the height is 9 over 3. Okay, these two come out nicely. 60 divided by 3 is 20. And then 40 divided by 3. And then 9 divided by 3 is just 3. So, like I said, you can reduce as you go, or you can reduce at the very end. Either way, it's going to give you the same number. We've got 800 yards cubed. Okay, that's volume 1. Now we're going to take care of volume 2, this second piece over here. So we need the length, the width, and the height of this piece. Okay, so over here I have the long side, okay, but I'm missing the width here going across. So what we need to do is decide this based on what we're given. We know this whole length here is 80, but the shorter distance is 60, so there's 20 left. So our width is 20 feet here. Again, make sure you're putting your label on here so you know what to do with it. And then our height stays the same all the way through here. So again, this height is the same as this distance, which is our 9/3 or a 3. Once we divide that, it's in yards, so we don't have to worry about that label of feet. It went away. All right, so with that, our length is in feet. We have to divide it by 3 as well, just like we did with the height. Same thing with our width. We're going to divide that by 3. Putting it all together, length times width times height again. We've got 50 over 3 times 20 over 3, and then times our height, 9 over 3. Okay, so you can write it as a decimal or a fraction. Doesn't matter to me as long as it's exact, so put that bar over it if you're using the decimal. And then just like with our compound pictures that we've done before, we're going to add these two together for the total volume. So 800 plus our 133 or 333.3 or our 1,000 over 3. So we just need to add 800 to that. And you'll notice this won't even let you, because it's such a big number, change it to a fraction. Okay, so our volume is 1,133.3 with the bar over it, yards cubed. Finally, we do the cost. Our price here is $5 per yard cubed, so we have to multiply that by $5. You want to make sure if you're using this decimal that you're going and using all of those places. If you accidentally deleted off or cleared your number, just type a bunch of 3s at the end there before you multiply by 5. Okay, but with that, we've got 5,666 and 67 cents. Okay, And that's it on conversions. Again, if you have questions on what you're doing here, come see me. If for some reason these aren't converting to fractions nicely in your calculator, ask me and then I'll let you know how to work your particular calculator.